Welcome to At Home with Music. I'm Leon Olguin. I have found that a lot of my viewers are either just starting to play the piano or keyboard, or are picking it up again after being away from it, sometimes for decades. But whether you are a beginner or a returning piano student, let me ask you, do you find it difficult? Do you struggle with learning new songs on the piano? On this video, I'm going to show you the easiest song to learn on piano. I'm also going to show you the easiest way to play this song, and then we'll continue to add some things perhaps to make it a little more challenging. So if you're ready, let's get started. So the song I want to show you today is, I believe, the easiest song to learn on the piano, and it's perfect for you if you are a beginner or coming back to the piano after a long time away, and you're looking for what you could refer to as a quick win, a quick accomplishment. You know, I have found that many beginners at the piano can find it overwhelming when they start to learn how to play and they try to play complex songs before they're ready. Now, this may seem like an overly simple statement, but the best way to get ready to play complex songs is to start by playing simple songs. I know that sounds very basic, but that's really how it goes. And so what we're going to do here is start with a very simple song and gradually make it more complex. So once you've mastered it at the very, very simple level, then you can move on to the slightly more complex level, and then we'll take it to another level after that. And so you might be asking by now, what song are we going to use? What song are you going to use to get me started learning songs? Well, this is a song that everybody knows. And some have even attributed this little melody to Mozart. But we're not really sure about that. But anyway, it's a little tune that you know as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. This is the easiest song to learn on the piano because the melody is simple. It's a melody that I'm sure you are familiar with. It contains repetitive patterns, makes it very easy to remember. So what I'm going to do now is switch to the overhead camera, and I'm going to show you the easiest song to play on the piano. So the first step in learning how to play this song is to figure out the tune. So what we're going to do, we're going to play it with our right hand, and we're going to play it in the key of C. Now this tune is so familiar that you'll probably be able to pick it out by ear. But as you can see, I am showing you the actual notes. Okay, that should not have presented much of a challenge to you. So now we're going to play it very simply by adding chords in the left hand. So if you are familiar with the basic chords in the key of C, you know that we have C major, the 1 chord. We have F major, and we're going to play it in this inversion. This is in second inversion. That way your fingers don't have to move too much. And then we can play G like this. So your left hand is not going to have to move too much. It should be pretty obvious when the chords should change. Like right here. And then here. I'm sure you were able to follow along with that. That's just the basic way of playing it block chords in the left hand, and simple one-note melody in the right hand. Now, instead of playing simple block chords in the left hand, let's create an accompaniment pattern in the left hand. So instead of playing just the block chords, we could play it as an arpeggio, maybe something like this. Now, of course, you can play this as slow as you need to in order to get your left hand under control. So we're going to take it very slow, and it will sound something like this. Then you can play a block chord there on the very last note. So that's one way we can do it. We could also do the famous Alberti bass. Now, actually, this was a variation of the Alberti bass. I covered the Alberti bass in a previous video, which I'll put a link to that in the description. But the most famous version of the Alberti bass is... So it now ends up sounding like this. Once you've mastered the very simple version where you're playing block chords in the left hand, and then the next version when you're playing these left hand patterns, or the next step is to begin using your right hand to play melody and chords. This can be a little more challenging, so I would encourage you to master the first two versions of this song before you try this. But now we're going to start playing just bass notes in the left hand and chords in the right hand. And we're going to try to keep that melody on top of the chords. So follow along and I'll show you how this is going to work. Now here we're going to use a G7 chord. But we could play it this way. We could go back to F, and then G, notice the melody is always at the top of the chords. Now, that may not be too hard. There's a couple of things that we can do to make the left hand more interesting. Now we're playing an E in the bass, which makes this a first inversion. So that's one way. You could even do something like this. See, I got to start on the right chord. It's starting to sound more interesting, isn't it? So notice I am now adding more notes in the bass line to make it more interesting. Now you can experiment with this and find even more variations with what you can do with left-hand notes. Now, we're going to make it even more complex. Now, don't try this until you've mastered the previous versions. But what we're going to be doing is changing some of the chords now, changing them more frequently. We're still only going to be using our basic 3 chords, but we're going to change it up a little bit. So, for example, still playing chords in the right hand and bass notes in the left. That's one way you can do it. You end up with this very colorful G9 chord. This would be G7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then here you can play that's pretty crazy, isn't it? We could even throw in some borrowed chords. Oh, did you follow that? So this G minor is actually borrowed from the parallel minor, C minor. So then it leads us to a C7, brings us to F. And then instead of going to F, we go to the substitute D minor, which leads us to G7, which leads us back to C. And then we use the substitute for C, which leads us to D minor, which leads us to G7, and back to C. So I'm going to play that very slowly for you, see if you can follow. Well, as you can see, the possibilities for playing this very simple song are endless. We can continue to make it even more and more complex. I can think of several more things that I could do to make this even more jazzy, but that is probably beyond the scope of this video. I encourage you, play this song. Start with the simplest version and see if you can figure out how to play it with some of the more complex things that we've added to it, and let me know how you did. And in addition to, after you've subscribed to the channel, if you haven't already, let me know if there is another simple song that you would like to learn how to play. Maybe a complex song that you'd like to learn how to play. And we can break it down, make it simpler, and then add the complexities back in. So let me know in the comments if there is a specific song that you would like for me to treat in this manner, and I would be happy to do it. My goal, of course, is to help you to play the songs that you love and create some beautiful music on your own. Thank you again for watching and for playing along, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.